Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. In this video, we're going to be reacting to Candace Owens' view on the media is lying to us about George Floyd and Bryant. All right, I'm a little bit old to the party, or old or late to the party, but in doing all of this stuff around race and racism, I thought it was or would be useful to kind of look back on some of the things that made the headlines and really kind of provoked a lot of emotions and thoughts and movements around race. So let's hear what she's got to say. I've seen some stuff where she can be very, very forceful in terms of her views. Um, Everybody's entitled to one, isn't it? I think we need to stop being too close-minded and just give everybody a chance. All right, without any further ado, let's go.
Hello and welcome. And we can just get right into this because you know what we are going to cover today. We obviously have to cover the George Floyd trial conclusion, which is that Derek Chauvin is guilty on all counts. And I have to appreciate people that were trying to create a pressure campaign for me on Twitter saying, I wonder what Candace is going to say. Even Republicans agreed that this was the right call. I don't care who agrees that this was the right. I don't care if it's a Republican. I don't care if it's a Democrat. I don't care if it's a white person. I don't care if it's a black person. I am not so much of an intellectual coward that because the mob decides something, because the lie about George Floyd and the way that he lived his life has become so big that we just have to now accept it as the truth. And believe me, this is a lie.
What is?
Nancy Pelosi yesterday said, quote, thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice. She also said, quote, that his name will always be synonymous with justice. George Floyd's name will always be synonymous with justice. You have got to be kidding me. And don't tell me it doesn't matter. It does matter. This is the most important part, that he is now becoming synonymous with justice. Let me remind you guys, I've done it before, right? When the media was spinning all the lies and the media first came out and they said, oh, George Floyd was just getting his life together. He moved to Minnesota. He got released from prison in 2014. He was just getting his life together. You remember that? Do you guys remember that media depiction of St. George, who was just doing things for kids and just loved the kids and really was trying to set a good example and was just getting his life together? Until I reminded people of what his actual record was, because it became apparent to me that there was a reason that they were not producing the police footage, because they wanted to make sure that the lie was perpetuated around the world and repeated over and over again before the truth could get up from bed and put its shoes on. And here is the truth. Here is the person whose life and whose name is now synonymous with justice, Nancy Pelosi. George Floyd has a rap sheet, and I'm going to remind you guys of it again today.
Okay. All right. So I thought it's important I pause it there for a second before we go a little bit more into what his rap shit was or wasn't. Regardless of somebody's rap shit, I don't believe that warrants the end of their life. And that I'm just going to take that position there right now. I don't believe that it warrants their life ending. There was a lot of outcry, and obviously there was a lot of media campaign trying to push a narrative and stuff like that. And we need, as a set of people, to be careful when we have this viral push, because there are a lot of people that are being hurt and they are being taken away. I've got to be mindful about the algorithm in terms of words that I use. I understand. So that don't get as much coverage, but I just thought I kind of put that out there before we go through his rap sheet. All right, let's go.
Day. He was arrested for delivery of a controlled substance. He was arrested and put into jail. He was arrested for theft. He was arrested for theft again. He spent 10 months and 10 days in jail. He was arrested for failure to identify. He spent 15 days in jail. He was again arrested for possession of a controlled substance, less than 1 gram of cocaine. He was then arrested for trespassing, no forcible entry. He was arrested for delivery of a controlled substance. He was arrested for possession with intent to manufacture or distribute, another 30 months in jail total. He was arrested for aggravated robbery with a dangerous and deadly weapon. And that has really got to be the most significant arrest for me because of how sick what he did was. Ready? Here's a statement. At this time, a black Ford Explorer pulled up in front of the complainant's residence. The complainant that we're talking about, the woman, had somebody knock on her door and say that they were from the water department. And then that person forced their way into her home. And then a Ford Explorer pulled up. And there were 5 other black males that exited.
I need to find the best way to learn math and science.
This vehicle and proceeded to the front door. The largest of these suspects forced his way into the residence. This is George Floyd. Forced his way into the residence, placed a pistol against the complainant's abdomen, and forced her into the living room area of the residence. The large suspect then proceeded to search the residence while another armed suspect guarded the complainant, who was struck in the head and side areas by the second armed suspect with his pistol after she screamed for help. I should also mention that there was a toddler in the residence at the time that this happened, a toddler that was traumatized by what George Floyd did, a woman who was traumatized by what George Floyd did. Various people who were traumatized throughout the life of George Floyd. He left a wake of victims. That is what happened. He had so many victims throughout his life, but right now, world has decided that he's just a wonderful human being. You're not allowed to talk about his record. Not allowed to talk about any of things. There are children that are running around with George Floyd shirts. There are murals that have been constructed dedicated to George Floyd because his name has now become synonymous with justice. I guess my question is, justice for who? How do I do that? How do I live a life so that people say Candace Owens' name is synonymous for justice? It's not telling the truth. People hate that. People say you're not allowed to say it. You're not allowed to talk about who this person actually was because the media has agreed on a narrative before the truth has gotten out about who this man was. Getting his life together. Is anybody still buying that anymore? Oh, no, never mind. It actually turns out that at the time of his arrest, he had fentanyl in his system. He also had methamphetamine in his system. We also learned that the week prior, he had had an overdose. But none of that matters because now we live under mob rule. Mob rule just says that if a black man dies and a white person is around while that black person dies, it is a racially motivated crime. They've never proved that. Nothing about this was about race at all. But it doesn't matter because now George Floyd has been propped up. And this is what we have to agree on. Nobody's allowed to tell the truth. Why are they doing this? Why can't we honestly have an assessment and come to an agreement, by the way? I would have been perfectly comfortable if people said Derek Chauvin was guilty of manslaughter. I'm comfortable with that charge.
That rap sheet wasn't great, was it? That rap sheet wasn't great. And it sounds like a man that definitely was troubled. Not that I'm trying to make excuses for his behavior in any way, shape, or form. It sounds like there was a lot to be worked on by him. And it sounds like situations may have ended differently if he didn't have substance in his system. From my understanding, a lot of parents try to educate themselves and their kids around how to behave when you are stopped by the police. You've got some idiots, and I said this in one of my other videos, and you can never tell which one would be what at any given point in time. So if you're asked to stop, you stop. If you're asked to put your hands behind your head, you put your hands behind your head. It's as simple as that. some people will be a lot more harsher to certain people than they would be to other people. You just need to obey and comply. I'm really sorry, but serious things do happen. But this idea of trying to play one race against the other, I think, is an idea that needs to be really, really looked into. Because just as you have white people in terms of within the police that can be aggressive, you also have blacks, people that can also be aggressive. So we need to stop playing one race against the other. There was definitely something that was wrong here that was done that led to his murder. And I think rather than try and tarnish a whole race, both sides, I need to remind people of that. Both sides, either black, if it comes from a black person, it comes from a white person, we need to address the individuals that are involved in this. We need to make it about educating ourselves that this is on a individual level, because then we're able to hold people accountable a lot more, because or rather hold the right people accountable, because we miss the point where we start making it about a race. But yeah.
Not comfortable with the lies that have been told repeatedly about who this man was. If you care about Black lives, if you're watching us thinking, Candace, I just care about Black lives, then why can't we discuss Black criminality at the same time? Because usually on the other end of Black criminality is a Black victim. That was the case with Jacob Blake. That was the case over and over again with George Floyd. That's also the case with, and let's talk about the person that was trending all last night and all this morning, Ma'Khia Bryant. Is that her name? The woman, the young woman that they're now saying, a 16-year-old girl in Columbus, Ohio, who was shot on Tuesday by police. Did you guys see the clip of her mother? She was shot and killed by police because she was attempting to stab another girl. It's on camera. She was a knife-wielding maniac, but those details don't matter. Don't forget. Because her mother came out and said that Ma'Khia had a motherly nature about her. She promoted peace. Ma'Khia Bryant's mother wants you to know that the knife-wielding maniac that you saw is not who she really was. Maybe in that moment she was trying to kill somebody, but the point that we should be focused on is that Ma'Khia Bryant liked to promote peace in her spare time, right? I mean, this is like, I feel like we have now tapped in to fiction. Like now we have to just accept fiction. It doesn't matter because Ma'Khia Bryant was Black and she died at the hands of a police officer. And that's all that matters now. People want to come out and they want to support Ma'Khia Bryant. Maybe she too, like George Floyd, will be buried into a gold casket. Maybe eventually one day Nancy Pelosi will say that Ma'Khia Bryant's name will be synonymous with justice. Let me tell you what is actually happening in America at this time. And if you're a Black American, you better pay attention. Right now in America, the goal is to make sure that Black people love and support criminality. That is the goal. The express goal now is to make Black people believe that we should be in the streets, rioting and looting and demanding justice for criminals, right? Because that is what these people are. They're criminals. George Floyd was in the process of committing a crime. I'm not saying he deserved to die. I don't think anybody deserved to die. I think he deserved to be arrested. They attempted to arrest him. Did you forget that part? Have you seen the full video of his arrest? The media refuses to show the full video that shows the police tried to put him into the vehicle multiple times, and he resisted arrest by saying, I'm claustrophobic, because he had just ingested fentanyl. Fentanyl, that thing that's 100 times more potent than morphine. He had just ingested it because he didn't want to again get caught with a controlled substance, as he had done repeatedly throughout his life. Let's ignore it.
With Photo Vibrance, you can transform any photo into a mesmerizing moving image in just a few clicks.
Testimony from his.
Ooh, I can see why people struggle, isn't it? People struggle with her because we live in a society these days where it is easier to omit certain information. We live in a society these days where it is better to paint white as green and green as purple. If somebody commits a crime, they committed a crime, and it's important that they are held accountable for that. We cannot omit vital information. This story itself is actually quite a touching one, because I remember when the whole thing happened that time, I was on the phone to a friend of mine who were just talking on the phone, and somebody was talking, and a lot of people had gone up to London for the Black Lives Matter march, and you had this man that was that spotted my friend who was also black whilst I was on the phone to him, and I could hear him go, "Black Lives Matter, right? Black Lives Matter, right? You come over here and I'll show you how Black lives really do matter." And he literally chased my friend. Luckily enough, he was close to his home, because where they were was really dark, so he needed to run to a point where there was light so he could see this person's face. He was white. The police came, and even when the police arrived, we called the police whilst I was on the phone. And when the police arrived, he carried on with this mantra about how he wanted to do A, B, and C. The point I'm trying to make is that, do we say that person's actions is white people's actions? Or do we say that that person is responsible for that behavior and they need to be dealt with for what they've done? I'm not saying as a black person that I'm only looking at it from a black standpoint. I'm also looking at it from a white standpoint as well, because there are certain times where things are said that, oh, black people, it's not black people, it's that person sort of thing. It's rather, we need as a society to kind of like watch how we approach certain things, I think. All right, let's finish up.
His girlfriend who said that they were both addicted, which, by the way, that is sad. Drug addiction is sad. We can be talking about drug addiction. We should be talking about drug addiction. That would be a meaningful discussion, but instead, let's ignore all of these things that would help us fix Black America. Let's not talk about drug abuse. Let's not talk about drug dealers. Let's not talk about criminality. Let's not talk about why Ma'Khia Bryant had a knife and was trying to stab a woman to death. Let's just talk about Black victimhood, because the discussion about Black victimhood almost guarantees us that in the future, Black neighborhoods are only going to get worse. When you start celebrating criminals, that is, of course, what is going to be the end result. We're going to have more Black death. We're going to produce more Black failures, because we're not allowed to talk about the truth anymore. And Republican and Democrats are even saying that this is good, right? So let's not talk about it. It's just been agreed. The lie has been agreed upon. Don't say anything. If you tell the truth, Candace, you're a bad person. I don't care what I am called. Just because right now in this country we are facing a pandemic of cowardice, because people are too scared once the mob says that this is what must be said and these are the only things that can be said, because the media has now created a system, a successful system of propaganda where people don't even know what the truth is, because the lie has been said over and over and over again. That does not mean that I'm going to back down to the truth. In fact, I think more than ever now, we need to have people that are willing to stand up and to say that what is happening in this country is wrong. What is happening in this country is backwards. None of these people that I mentioned are heroes. Thanks for joining me on this.
Ooh, damn. She's a lot of her points are they're quite valid, isn't it? I think a lot of her points are quite valid. If it is the case that people have committed a crime, then they definitely need to be held accountable. But most importantly as well, I suppose, in everything that's happened, a life should not have been taken. maybe another way could have been used to manage that situation. I don't know. I don't know how I've not seen the full video. I don't know how else the police could have managed that situation. But for the short clip that was shown, it does look really, really bad in terms of the individuals that were involved in this. So like George Floyd, it does look like he has got a lot of trouble that he needed a lot of support around. And like in current day, it's difficult to be able to get people the support with drug addiction and stuff like that. And when you do get that support, there needs to be a willingness to want to engage with that, because it works both ways. The support might be available, but if the person is not willing to engage, then it is pointless. And it's even more difficult when you then have a partner that is also struggling with the same addiction. It then means that you're going to need an awful lot of support from the network around you in terms of family, friends, and stuff like that. Not just a professional network, but also where you go back to. If you go back to an environment where it is drug filled, it makes that recovery process even more difficult. So it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. And then you've got the other girl, this Bryant. If it is the fact that she was trying to stab someone, then that's completely unacceptable. But at the same time, we need to also look at the point that at 16, she was still a child. Where has she got this sort of behaviors from? How do we try and educate our young people to be able to do better? What sort of support are around to ensure that young people realize that carrying weapons is not only dangerous for themselves, but also for the people that are around them? These are dangerous, dangerous stuff. We're dealing with a lot of that right now in the UK, in London, where people are constantly being stabbed and killed. It's just not on. The services right now are being stripped right, left, and center. It makes it very difficult to engage our young people. We, as a society, where possible, need to look out for these young people and try and encourage them, redirect them, distract them from this life of boredom, which is what we now have, because a lot of the services, such as youth centers that young people would engage with, they're gone. I can only speak for the UK. I don't know about in America, but we're facing similar struggles over here. As children, when a child feels the only way that they can defend themselves, or the only way that they can fight, is to wield a weapon, then it means that we're failing our society, we're failing our kids. We need to be able to help our kids to see differently. But that doesn't mean that the kids then become, these individuals are called heroes when they're then hurt from a decision that they've made, albeit poor decision making as a result of an environment that they find themselves. Just as these two are no longer with us, I'm sure there are a lot more that are out there that are going to use this as a stepping block to go, oh yeah, look at what's happened with these ones, and they're being recognized as heroes. What's the message that we're sending to the people that are still left, that are still walking down this path? We need to try and redesign this message and make it more constructive, make it more productive, so we can be able to free these individuals from this web of deception and struggles that they're kind of caught up in. All right, let me know in the comment section below your views on this. I think she's got valid points. She's quite she's quite forceful in the way she comes across, but it doesn't stop it from being valid. Let me know your views in the comment section below. It'd be really, really good to engage in that conversation. All right. If you like what we're all about, please like, subscribe, and join our community. And until next time, you guys make sure you look after yourself. It's been Kings. Peace. Bye for now.